Hello, I'm Muzammil Baghdadi and welcome to All Talk with Cafemutual. Today we have Yash Ravel, CEO Fund Management, Welspun One. Welcome to the show, Yash.
Thank you, Muzammil.
How are you doing?
Very good. Thank you so much.
So we have some set of questions for you.
Okay.
So the first is what has led to warehousing being a popular asset class among global institutional real estate investors over the past few years?
So, combination of two things, Muzammil. One is that it's just from a demand supply standpoint, in a great place where there is not that much stock of good quality warehousing assets which is available on the one hand, and on the other hand, given what we're seeing in e-commerce or just consumption in general, or more recently on the manufacturing side, there is a lot of demand for these good quality warehousing and industrial spaces. And at the same time, when you kind of look at these assets from a risk perspective, warehouses aren't terribly risky projects to build, right? Given that these are fairly simple, straightforward projects which you're able to build within a matter of months and not years, they're a lot less risky than what you would typically associate with real estate. So I think it's a combination of attractive dynamics from demand and supply, good returns, and low risk, which are making these assets an attractive investment.
Okay. So what's driving the boom in warehousing in India and what is your outlook for the sector?
Yeah, so Muzammil, like I said, I think the boom over the last 4 or 5 years has been driven largely by consumption, predominantly by e-commerce growth. We've all seen that e-commerce growth has now become very pervasive, where now when you need something, the first thing you think about is to open your phone and kind of search for the item on Amazon or Flipkart or whatever is your favorite store. Uh, Now, e-commerce fulfillment requires high quality and efficient warehousing as the backbone, right? So, whatever growth we've seen over the last 4 or 5 years on e-commerce has kind of directly benefited warehousing. Right? At the same time, if you think about it, any type of consumption or any type of product which is produced in the economy, between the source of manufacture and the destination when it reaches a customer, at the end of the day, it is going to pass through at least one or more warehouses, right? So, in a way, all kinds of growth which you're seeing in the physical economy directly translate into growth in warehousing, which is really what we've seen over the last 4 or 5 years. So, year on year, we're seeing almost 40 to 50 million square feet of absorption for warehousing. And this is a number which has been growing at a CAGR of 15 to 20%.
Okay. So we have already seen the first InvIT in the warehousing space. How does this work? A typical InvIT which usually houses infra assets. What are the expected yields and returns on such instruments?
Yeah, so this works, Muzammil, very similarly to how rates would work, right? So warehouses are actually very similar to office assets to the extent that they're usually rented out to good quality customers for a fairly long term period, right? And once these assets are built and leased, they then produce a very stable rental cash flow over a long period of time, right? So just like office assets are listed in REITs, warehousing assets, because they are classified as infrastructure, would need to be listed in InvITs. The yields you'd expect from warehousing assets will be quite similar to what you'd expect in a REIT, which means you can usually expect a yield of between 7 and 8%, and you can expect capital appreciation of about 4 to 5% annually.
Well, yes, that was an interesting session. Thank you so much for your time and sharing your thoughts at All Talk.
My pleasure, Musalal. Thank you, sir.
That's all for today's episode. Stay tuned for more such interesting episodes.